'Tis I, your old pal King Chuck. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I get to speak in a normal voice today because my dad is actually away. He's got a doctor's appointment. He actually can drive. Yeah, the first time he was able to drive legally since his back surgery last year. Back surgeries, I should say. So, I want to talk about the... So let's talk a little bit about the Trump in the FCC and everything that's wrong on this earth. You know, tonight Trump will be on the air at 9 o'clock in the evening. I assume he's going to go on and tell everyone that they are cutting ties with NATO and in that he wants to... basically what he wants to do is turn America into an unlikable country. It's like instead of having countries like England and Japan and Germany as our allies, it's all about let's go ahead and make all of our enemies are good guys. Yeah, you understand what I'm getting to here? I mean, I think that's what Trump wants. He wants to turn America into a rogue country, and well, he's already done that. So, anyway, so Donald Trump, that's what I'm expecting for tonight. I'm also, he claims that he wants to end the war in Iran, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Donald Trump is he is as trustworthy as he is not very trustworthy at all. Yeah. I mean, he's as useless as tits in a bowl. I mean, he lied to us about lowering gas prices, because we ended up in a war with Iran. He lied to us about lowering the prices of food. Well, of course, diesel's now over $5 a gallon. He lied to us about the First Amendment, about wanting to protect our freedom of speech. I cry bullshit on that, as we all know, because... look at what he's doing to Jimmy Kimmel, and look at what he did recently to Stephen Colbert. And now, Donny Boy, and look at the FCC in general, since Trump became president again. So, there's these big TV mergers that are currently going on. There was a merger recently between Nextstar and Tegna. And the story is that here at Grand Rapids, Nextstar had Wood TV 8 NBC affiliate and one of the two ABCs in Grand Rapids, WOTV 41, which serves Kalamazoo and Battle Creek. And the story is that there's two ABCs. Tegna had the other, which was WZZM 13, whose signal covers mostly Muskegon and Big Rapids and Grand Rapids. So, what's going on? So now there's a similar situation in Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is such a screwy TV market because it's like all the TV stations in town have changed ownership in the last couple of years or so. And of course, there's been a lot of affiliation changes. For many, many years, the only constant in town was Wish TV 8, which was the longtime CBS affiliate. Well, then Nextstar bought the station, and there was a rift between Nextstar and CBS at the time. So what happened was CBS went with WTTV Channel 4. And WTTV was a long-time independent station. And they had been the CW affiliate. Well, the CW was now moved to Wish TV8. Well, guess who ended up buying Channel 4? Nextstar. So the story was Nextstar bought Tribune. Tribune owned Channel 4. And Tribune... So now Nextstar was back to owning a CBS affiliate. And at the time, and this was, I think Biden might have been president at the time, CBS. So the story was the FCC did order Nextstar to spin off one of their indie stations. And the station that got spun off was Wish TV8. And the reason why was because they basically threw it straight into the ground. So what happened was Wish TV8 ended up being sold to a black man and his company called Circle City Broadcasting. And Daquan McCoy, that's his name. And so what happened was now he owned Wish TV8, which was now the CW. And I think he owns the My Network TV station. So what happened was Channel 6 in Indianapolis, WRTV, the ABC affiliate, was owned by Scripps. And Scripps is having major financial problems. They actually had to sell a few stations. Well, Scripps ended up selling WRTV to Circle City. And what happened was, so now Circle City owns a network TV station in Indy. But they decided to lay off everybody at WRTV6. Everybody is gone. And now they're outsourcing their news from Wish TV8. So, for the time being, there's really just, of all the TV stations in Indianapolis, they're all owned by just two people. The locally owned Circle City and Nextstar-Tegna, although a judge recently threw out the merger. The judge ruled the merger cannot continue due to the fact that it has created some antitrust issues. And I agree. It is a bad problem because, look at what's happening at Channel 6 in Indianapolis. A lot of people losing their jobs. And, it could happen if Nextstar and Tegna continued with their merger. And I noticed that WZZM 13, I heard a rumor they were using the Nextstar logo for a while at the end of their broadcasts, but they're back to using the Tegna logo for the time being. So who knows? And I also had a hunch too that WZZM 13 would close down their news operations and certain people would go to Wood TV8, and including Juliette Dragas. And I noticed last night on 13, Juliette was anchoring the news by herself. And of course, Susan Shaw recently retired. So there's no official female news lead at Channel 8 except for Amber Kriska, who, does the 8 o'clock, the 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock for WXSP as well, which is, of course, the low power TV station that Nextstar has here in Grand Rapids. And anyway, but, it's sad considering that I wanted to get into the broadcasting business when I was a kid. I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to play my own songs, and it didn't work out that way. And I'm glad I never got into radio because I've heard of people who left the business, and they ended up making more money working as a bartender. It's like when I was a kid, bartending was a loser job. Being a waiter was a loser job. And it's like I've heard of too many people. Now it's like all the loser jobs are the jobs that actually pay well. Isn't that something? I've heard of too many people who work in the radio business who have all turned into, they ended up with bounce paychecks. And, of course, the story I told you recently with Roy Henderson up in Traverse City, what he did to Dan Stevens. Many years ago, he royally screwed Dan over. Yeah, Dan ended up going to jail because of child support payments. And, what happened was the child support payments were actually going to Roy. Yeah, Roy, he deserves to rot in hell for what he did. Anyway. But, the radio business is dying. You look at what's happening with, it's true. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 fucked up the radio business. I mean, you had a lot of big companies taking up small companies and taking popular radio stations and turning them into low-rated pieces of garbage. And, I looked at what happened to KLQ here in Grand Rapids. Great station back in the day, and now they're gone, all because of how it was managed. And it's not just KLQ. I mean, I have a laundry list of once great stations that went off the air because of management. And so anyway, back to the rest of the story here. Some radio stations have gone off the air completely this year. And one station in particular, one company that has been silencing stations is Cumulus. Cumulus recently silenced a couple of stations, all their AM stations in Flint, including WTRX 1330 AM. That was the radio station my good friend Dave Barber once worked at. He actually tried to buy WTRX a number of years ago with a partner, and somebody else bought it and turned it into a sports station. And the only good news about WTRX leaving the airwaves for good is that it means one last station for that big, fat douchebag Bill Simonson. Huge. Jesus Christ. I love the fact that here in Grand Rapids, there's another new FM sports station in town, 98.7, and their ratings are they are now killing 96.1. Yeah, that's Simonson station. 98, and of course, they just recently signed the Tigers, which is really good news. So they're the Tiger home in Grand Rapids now. So anyway, so here's the rest of the story. Bill Simonson, that's my dog, by the way. So anyway, yeah, my executive producer is being a whiny little bitch today. Yeah, I'm trying to give her pets and snuggles, and yeah, that's how she is. She is quite the attention whore. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know that on Midas Touch, they have that same problem with their dogs. They bark, and they're very talkative. So I want to talk about, so one thing that a lot of radio companies are doing is they're selling their stations or donating them to this god-awful company called K-Love. Ever hear of K-Love? K-Love is a Christian-based radio company. And, the other day a survey was done, and it was announced that 1 out of 4 radio stations in America are now religious. They're faith-based. And K-Love has done a great job of taking once great radio stations and turning them into satellite-fed garbage. WPLJ in New York City, 95.5, was once a great rock station in the 1970s and 80s. And then it went top 40, and then Soccer Mom music. And I know the ratings sucked, but here's what happened. Cumulus sold it to K-Love. And they also sold WLUP in Chicago to K-Love. WLUP, 97.9 The Loop, legendary classic rock station, is now a K-Love affiliate. We got K-Love station in Detroit, 102.7. And that station, once upon a time, was the old K-Love. Yeah. Sorry, that's my dog is being vocal. Apologies. So K-Love in Detroit was the old 102.7 Z-Rock. Z-Rock was a killer station in the 90s. I miss that station. And anyway, Boston, they took over WAAF. That was and now Boston doesn't have a decent rock station anymore. Yeah, my dog is finally starting to settle down. And then Milwaukee, recently, WLUM was sold to K-Love. And the story over there is that K-Love, the station was owned by a company called the Milwaukee Radio Alliance. And Willie Davis, legendary football player for the Packers, he started this after his playing career ended. He started a broadcasting company, bought WLUM was once a gospel station, and it had no ratings. So he adopted the call letters WLUM in 1979, flipped the station to disco, and then rhythmic top 40 in the 80s, and WLUM call letters stood for We Love You Milwaukee. And then what happened was in the 80s and 90s, the station just flat out dominated as Hot 102. And then what happened was the gangster rap craze took over, and there was a lot of there were a lot of folks out there who were concerned about its effect on children and black youth, and WLUM was playing a lot of it apparently. So, but they were number one in the ratings, so Willie didn't worry until a high school principal was murdered in Milwaukee by a black student, shot to death. And what had happened was people were speculating that he was enticed to kill him because of the gangster rap music. So what happened was Willie, being a servant of the community, came to basically his idea was, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It ain't broke till it's broke. But here's what happened. He learned that even though they were number one in the ratings and they were probably making decent money in ad revenue, he was feeling that WLUM was negatively impacting the youth of Milwaukee. So he went to the station. So he went to his own station and took a look at what they were doing. And he had learned that after 10 o'clock at night, the station was playing a lot of dirty hip-hop music, a lot of uncensored music. And it angered him to the point that he said, okay, it's time to make some changes. And that's what he did. And the biggest change he did, he got rid of the rap and hip hop. It went alternative. So, anyway, Hot 102 was now New Rock 1019. They're on 102.1. Excuse me. New Rock 1021. And, they were still doing okay in the ratings for many years. And, a couple of top 40s and were launched in Milwaukee. But, WLUM actually had better ratings than, I think, all of them. So what happened was Willie Davis died. His family, his estate took over the stations. But the other company that made up the Milwaukee Radio Alliance was Time Shamrock, and they were having money issues. So what happened was they mutually decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and sell WLUM to K-Love. And that's what happened. K-Love took over that and another station, which I believe was adult contemporary. I forgot what it was. But WLUM, I believe, was the only radio station in all of Milwaukee that played any new rock at all. I mean, Milwaukee has another rock station, The Hog, and they're one of those stations that play stuff from like 10, 15 years ago. But new rock, fuck it. Oh, people love the old stuff nowadays. It's like, okay, it's like I fucking hate the fact that record companies and radio stations, corporate radio, they've turned their backs on new rock music. I mean, there's still a market for it. And, it breaks my heart, And it's like nowadays they, and I think it's because, it's not just corporate radio, but it's also the listeners. Because let's face the facts. I listen to Sirius XM's Octane all the time. GRD, I'm not much of a fan of it. My take on GRD is that, Free Bear and Hot Wings aren't that funny. I mean, I still prefer Howard Stern over Free Bear and Hot Wings by a mile, even though, sometimes Howard does get on my nerves talking about The Bachelorette and talking about chick stuff. But that's what happens when you're married to a hot chick, and you put Beth's interest in front of everyone else's. I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, so the rest of the story is that, but that's, and I know Howard is also on just 2 days a week. I mean, you got to remember, the dude's 72 years old. He's only working part-time. Same with Robin. Robin's actually older, and, she's got cancer. Anyway. But K-Love, they're the devil. They get their money from their listeners. Some companies give them money to, they're a nonprofit, these people are just simply, these assholes, all they do is they stand there and beg for money and play some happy, feel-good, shitty-ass music in the process. And I'm like, yeah, good for them. But I don't care. So, anyway. But I just heard over the radio trades today, I just read on the radio trades, some very sad news. A very legendary radio station has been sold to the sorry sack of sons of bitches known as K-Love. Ladies and gentlemen, It's the end of the squawk. That's right, folks. The squawk. 94.5 WSQK in Hawkins, Indiana, has been sold to K-Love for $480,000. So anyway, some of the radio trades reported that the official announcement was made at noon today by the station's owner, along with longtime afternoon jock Rockin' Robin. Rockin' Robin has been with WSQK since 1987. She said that she was straight out of high school when she started at the squawk. Yeah, she, according to her bio on the WSQK website, she started at WSQK in 1987. Her previous job, no joke, was working at an ice cream parlor called Scoops Ahoy inside the old shopping mall that they have in Hawkins called Starcourt Mall, excuse me. So what happened was she worked there for a while, then she got into radio, and according to her bio, she said that one of the happiest memories was one day the station was somehow off the air, and the engineer was not on site, so two of her friends actually climbed up the transmission tower to replace, with no wires or nothing, and replaced a down wire. So anyway, they got that fixed, and the station was back on the air, but they also were off the air for an extended period of time due to the fact that they were dealing with some issues that had struck Hawkins with a situation that was called the Upside Down, where strange monsters were invading the town and wanting to kill the children and blah, blah, blah. It was a really freaky situation. So anyway, the station was top 40 from its sign-on from 1956 till 1992. And then they flipped to hard rock, active rock, because hard rock and metal was apparently very popular in Hawkins. In the late 90s, they added the Howard Stern Show. Sadly, it was canceled after 5 years due to protests from church groups and religious schmucks. I mean, it's frickin' Indiana, so fuck them. Now the station. Now, an interesting fact about WSQK was that they were family owned and operated since day one, and the station's owner made the announcement on their socials today, on their Facebook page. The station's owner, by the way, was named Herb E. Versmels. Herb E. Versmels. And he said that the reason for, pardon me, I'm doing laundry. The reason for the sale was because, so the story was his father started the station in 1956. And then he took full ownership in 1990. One of the longtime complaints was the lack of staffing issues, and he beefed up the staff over the years. The station would also evolve from top 40 in the 80s to rock, of course. But yes, a lot of talent went through the doors of WSQK radio. And Rockin' Robin was there for 39 years. She's still on the air now, but obviously she'll be out of a job. They are expecting the sale to commence on Memorial Day weekend, unfortunately. So they say the ink will be dried, and K-Love will take full control of WSQK radio. And they are inviting people to talk about their favorite memories of the station, what they loved about the squawk, what they loved about the music. They have already said that the last song that will be played on the station will be Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. They said the song really meant a lot to the people of Hawkins. So, yeah, it is a really sad day. I mean, fuck K-Love. They are, and even worse, the assholes that give them money to buy up more stations and more wealth, obviously. And, it breaks my heart. It's like Traverse City. I go back to Traverse City all the time, and it's like a lot of the stations I grew up with, they were all bought out years ago because of piss poor management, and they all ended up flipping to Jesus crap. And, it's like, and it's heartbreaking. It's like people in Traverse City deserve much better than this. And the same goes with Hawkins, Indiana. I mean, Hawkins is a small town that's kind of like 100 miles away from anything, And for them to lose this very special radio station it's soul crushing. And it's like, why do people, why it's, and I understand it's, some people are like, they get better music and better choices from satellite radio and digital media. And, you're listening to somebody, curated music by somebody who you don't even know. And it's the same songs over and over again. But it is what it is. And my heart goes out to the people of Hawkins. And, of course, I think about the article, too. And it said here that Mr. Versmells actually had been trying to sell the station for 10 years, but no takers because of its location, middle of nowhere, obviously, and the fact that nobody wanted it. So, it is what it is. And so, anyway, over Memorial Day weekend, they plan to have a memorial to the station. Many of the station's talent will be there, including, of course, Rockin' Robin. Like I said, Rockin' Robin had been there since '87. Of course, the current morning host, by the way, his name is Louis Skunt. And then there's and of course they had a night jock there back in the 90s, Ivana Handjob, and it's like, these people brought a lot of memories to the people of Hawkins. And, and because of how the radio business is nowadays, it is what it is. It's like, yes, they still have horse and buggies, but, the car had long taken over, and radio is kind of the same business. It's a model that died years ago. And, the years of calling up a radio station to hear your favorite songs, well, that's not how it works anymore. You can just go go online and listen to whatever you want. You know? And even so, because of advertising, you know, those artists will get paid whatever, you know. So, anyway, you know, all I can say is because of what's going on with the radio business, all I have to say is that stranger things are coming their way. And they ain't going to get better. Good day and good luck. I'll talk to you later.